What is up, fellow dads? My name is Brett, and today I am here to talk about and hopefully provide some insight and tips on how to teach your toddler about respect and respecting you and your wife in the house. Specifically, I'll be giving you 3 tips and a little bonus tip at the end of the video, so stick around for that. My wife and I have struggled with our son showing us both respect, but specifically for my wife, he can be rude, disrespectful, and sometimes physically aggressive with her. So I wanted to show and showcase some of the things that I've learned so far in teaching our son respect. Now, he's only 3. This is a process that we're going through and we're going to continue to go through. But so far, these are the things that I've learned. These are the things that we've seen have been working in showing him how to be respectful to other people and specifically to mom and dad. One thing I'd like to note before we get started, and this isn't backed by science or anything, it's just something I've observed with my own son and other people's kids that I've been around as they grow up. But I've noticed that boys typically gravitate towards respecting their dads and girls typically gravitate towards respecting their moms in those early toddler years. And then that flips as they get a little bit older. No science to back that up. It's just something I've observed, like I said. But if you've noticed something like that in your own life, comment down below. I'd love to see if people are having that similar experience of kids respecting the mom when it's a daughter, kids respecting the dad when it's a son. I have no science to back that up. I just wanted to mention it because it seemed interesting to me, and it might help you as a parent understand why one of your kids is respecting you more or less just based on their gender and age. And with that out of the way, tip number 1, do what I do and what I say. We have all heard the saying, do what I say, not what I do. And honestly, it's a horrible saying. I think we should get rid of it. It's 2022, almost 2023. Let's get rid of that saying. Kids in the early years of development need to see a good role model. Anything that you're doing, if you want them to eat dinner, if you want them to clean up after themselves, the early developmental years are where you need to walk the walk and talk the talk. Especially being a dad, you gotta walk the walk and talk the talk. There are no days off, and especially in how you treat other people, and specifically your wife, is going to rub off on your kids. And I think it's a very important thing as a father that we should be respectful to our wives, that we should treat them with respect, that we should be kind, caring, soft-spoken, kind of all the mushy relationship stuff that is kind of like mushy, the things that you did when you met your wife and you were trying to win her over. Do those things again later in life to show your children how to treat and respect other people. I know there are a lot of couples who talk bluntly to each other. They'll do the play fighting, they'll poke, they'll maybe play hit. Obviously, it's not in an aggressive way, but it's sometimes a dynamic of the relationship that carries over from pre-children to post-children. And unfortunately, that's something that has to kind of come back later in their life when they can understand the difference between playfully hitting or poking or playfully talking back and being sarcastic. If you do those things in those developmental years, kids are going to think that's okay. That's how they treat other people. And unfortunately, kids aren't adults. They can't handle that stuff. They don't understand maybe the nuances between, well, I was just joking with when I told mom, oh, you never do the garbage or whatever. Like, I don't know, it could be anything. But doing those things, saying those things, and trust me, I'm guilty of this. I'm guilty of poking fun at my wife, or we don't really like poke or hit each other or anything like that. But, you know, just being blunt with my wife, I think, is the struggle that I personally have, where I'm a very sarcastic person. I can be very dry at times in how I say things or express myself, and something that I need to reel in and pull back when my son is around, because he's not going to understand that. And I think it has contributed in some ways to how he treats my wife. So I'm trying to correct that behavior now. Is that rabbit trail clear? I hope so. I'm basically letting you know that I'm also a flawed person, and I'm learning as you're learning. We're all in this together. Anyways, moving on. Tip number 2, be stern in moments of disrespect. There will be moments where your kids lash out, where they become upset, angry, and they are not being respectful to you or your wife. And in those moments, I have found for our son, it is very important to shut everything down, be very stern, be very blunt, and become the bad cop in that situation. You don't want this behavior that you're trying to correct to go on for too long, and you also don't want them to be confused as to why you're being so strict and blunt in that moment. You need to correct the behavior as it's happening, while it's happening, so that in the future they can think, yes, last time I did this, dad got really, really serious. For example, if my son hits my wife because he doesn't want to eat dinner or he's having a bad night with bath time or anything like that, even if I'm not in the same room and I hear my wife going, ow, don't hit, or I can hear something that indicates to me that my son is being aggressive, I'll stop what I'm doing, I'll come into the room and I'll be very stern. I'll say, hey, we do not hit mommy. We do not hit other girls. We are respectful. We use gentle hands. And gentle hands has been something that me and my wife use with our son. We say, this is gentle hands. And we'll, rub the back of his hand. We'll say, look, we're being gentle with you and your face. Be gentle with other people. I also like to, in my own kid-friendly way, remind him that being a man and having strength means that you know how to control that strength. Just because you're upset, because you're angry, because you're not getting what you want, doesn't mean that you can use your strength against other people. Being a strong man doesn't just mean you have strength, it means you know how to control it. And that's just my own morality that I want to pass on to my son. Feel free to disregard that, but I just think it's important as a father of a son who will one day be interacting with women out in the real world, that he is respectful to them, that he knows how to be respectful to women, and that he is going to know that he is strong, that he has strength. But being a strong man, you know how to control that, and you need to use it in appropriate times. Tip number 3 is reconcile the actions. After our son does something that was disrespectful, on top of being stern and blunt and having that conversation with him, we also make him give a hug, say I'm sorry, say I love you to the person that he was disrespectful to. For us, this works really well because it teaches him not to be afraid of either of us after we, get upset and say, hey, you can't hit, or, you have to be more respectful to us. It helps him not be afraid. He comes in for that hug. He's usually quite happy and back to his normal self after we do that. And specifically for my wife, this really helps in those moments where she does feel disrespected, because it helps her feel loved, forgiven, and she's able to kind of let go of any of that resentment that I might have built up in the moment. And my wife specifically will sometimes get upset because it feels like our son will gravitate towards me more for the respect thing. And that goes back to what I said at the beginning of the video, where I think that boys typically respect their fathers earlier in age, while girls typically respect their mothers earlier in age. Again, anecdotal, there's no science behind that, but if you'd like me to go deeper into why I believe that and go deeper into some of the situations and settings that have led me to believe that, let me know in the comments. I might make a full video on it. All right, before we get into the last bonus tip, I just want to say if you've learned anything new, if you've enjoyed the video so far, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. I would appreciate it so very much. I'm trying to build a community where dads can help dads become better dads. Lots of dads on the Dadology channel. Now let's get into the bonus tip. The bonus is to teach your wife these 3 tips. Specifically, being blunt and stern in moments of disrespect. It's something that I think is really important that my wife is able to do when I'm not around to fill those shoes. When I'm not able to, intervene and say, hey, we don't do that. Gentle hands, don't hit, say sorry, come in for the hug. If I'm not there, my wife needs to be able to fill those shoes. Just share this video with your wife or give her the TLDR of the video so that you guys can both be on the same page when it comes to teaching and fostering respect in the household. Moms and dads have different roles in the parenting relationship, but I think it's important that one can fill the other's shoes when the other one's not around. And I think that's something that gets lost and forgotten about a lot in today's age. But thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Check out the links in the description down below to my other social accounts as well as to my streaming account. I'm getting back into live streaming and hanging out playing video games. If you want to chill, chat, talk about dad things, games, other life stuff, hit up those channels. I'd love to see you there. That's all for today. I'll see you dads next time. Peace.